Grateful, love, and courage.
Are you a coach who's working bravely to enrich the lives of your clients, but not always getting the connection and the support that you need? If that sounds like you, then I am so excited to tell you about the Brave Circle. The Brave Circle is a brand new membership community designed for coaches by coaches. It's rooted in my signature coaching program, the Brave Method. If you're a coach who's looking for a community of heart-centered, gutsy individuals who know that just because we can do it all on our own doesn't mean we have to, then the Brave Circle just might be for you. Doors open in mid-March. All of the details are coming out soon, so for now, be sure to sign up for our mailing list to stay in the loop and get all of the details and be the first to know when registration is open. You can join the mailing list by visiting vickeryandco.com. All right, folks, today is a great conversation. I'm so excited to share this one with you. You know, we so often dream of just picking up and leaving everything behind to start fresh in a new place. Have you had that thought or that conversation? Can you imagine taking action on it? Well, it turns out that today's guest, Burhaan Pattel, knew exactly that he needed and wanted just that. And he set a deadline of 100 days. 100 days was all it took for Burhaan to get his affairs in order and leave his life behind to travel the world, check things off his bucket list, and be the person that he wanted to be, living the life that he most desired to live. It might be a little controversial for you in some of the elements because we wouldn't have all made the same choices that Burhaan made, but this concept of deciding you want a thing, setting this 100-day limit, and then barreling ahead to make it happen come hell or high water is one that I absolutely loved investigating with Burhaan. In this amazing story of resiliency and bravery, Burhaan shares his story of living with his parents with nothing and then moving into living in exotic locations with more than he could ever have imagined. The truth of the matter is, it's never too early or late to start checking things off your bucket list. And if you ask nicely, you might just get your way. And finally, big decisions require a lot of planning. If you fall short on some of the things in that planning, it's okay. Don't give up. Really fascinating conversation, folks. Stay with us all the way through the end. Here we go.
This is Heather Vickery, and you're listening to The Brave Files, stories from people living courageously. When we choose bravely in big and small ways, it powerfully elevates our lives. I hope these stories connect with you and encourage you to embrace bravery in every possible way, day after day. Together, we can build a movement of courageous living that enriches both our lives and our communities. And if you enjoy the show, I ask you to please share it with others. Maybe think of someone who you want to choose bravely right alongside you. Thanks for tuning in. Now here's the show.
All right, folks, what happens when you decide to give yourself 100 days to completely uproot your life and start a business in a completely new part of the world? Well, today I'm welcoming my new friend. Can we be friends? We're friends, right, Burhaan?
Yes, we are.
We're Twitter friends. Burhaan Pattel, who did just that. I had the honor and privilege of being a guest on his podcast right when my book, Fuck Fearless, was coming out. That was very exciting. I'll let him tell you all about his podcast as well. But welcome to the Brave Files.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you here. You have such a nice, calming, peaceful energy about you through the airwaves. Has anyone told you that before?
So many people. So many people. It's insane.
It gives people, like, it puts them at ease. I kind of just feel like I've settled in with a warm cup of coffee. I'm like, oh, I could just listen to you. You should do a bedtime story podcast.
I was about to say, yeah, I think people would fall to sleep to me.
Oh, that sounds lovely, though. No, I think it's so nice. All right. Well, tell folks a little bit about your background, and let's lead up to this moment that I previously mentioned where you were like, you know what? I'm going to change everything and I'm going to give myself 100 days. So who were you prior to that?
Oh, prior to that, I would say I was broke, eating peanut butter sandwiches, breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Where were
Uh,
you living? Where were you
I
living?
was I
What
was
were you
still in South
doing?
Africa. I was married at the
Okay.
time, living with her parents in their house, unable to sustain myself as a man and as a husband and as a father. I have two kids with my ex-wife as well, and it was a really really difficult time. It was challenging. The relationship, we were going through a bit of a bumpy patch as well, and not being able to sustain not only myself but also just to put fuel in the car to take my ex-wife to work. That was like, uh, think about like a kick in the nuts, as a human being, as a man. That was like a really really challenging time.
Well, that is an interesting thing that you said, right? Because stereotypically, that's a quote unquote man's job, right? To to be able to
Yeah.
provide.
Yeah, and of course, growing up in an Indian household, with Muslim parents, where the whole thing was all about being able to provide for your, for yourself and also for your family. Like that's culturally just built in.
Yeah. What led to that? You said you were broke, you couldn't put gas in the car. What led to that sort of moment of feeling broken?
I had always wanted to have my own thing, to have my own business, to have my own identity, to explore, to do things on my own. Not because I wanted to be lonely, but because I, like
Because you didn't want a boss. I get that.
I didn't want a
No.
boss. Yeah, and I was at a point where my father was my boss for a while, and that, to be
That sounds
honest,
bad.
it was. I wouldn't say it was the most terrible thing that I've been through, but it was very challenging, and
Yeah.
we ended up parting ways. I was working in his business. We ended up parting ways, and because of that decision, I had basically like had to start from scratch. I had zero money in the bank account, lots of loans to pay. In fact, I had a Harley Davidson that I had bought through the bank, which got repossessed because I
Oh,
I couldn't afford it. That was a very heartbreaking breaking moment that day.
absolutely. Oh my
Mhm.
gosh, yeah, I can imagine. And so did that I mean, you mentioned that you and your wife are she's your ex-wife and you have children together, but did that experience lead to the ultimate demise of your marriage?
I would say part of it. I wouldn't say that was like the entire cause of it, but yeah, all of these were contributing factors for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So you were about as low as you felt like you could get.
Yes.
Tell us more. Give us your version of the 100 days story because I did this like one liner of it and it's fascinating to me. It's not that we don't want to know more about you growing up and getting to this space, but I think there's so much to unravel and
Yeah.
unpack with a decision like this and then your what happened in those 100 days and what's happened since then.
Yeah. So I'll start the story a little bit before that. It's kind of 3 years before all of that was happening. Um, you're probably familiar with the movie The Bucket List, and
Yes.
obviously in that movie, they do all of these insane things from a list that they write together, right? The two main actors.
Mhm.
And after that movie, like literally the few minutes after that movie, I made a list of my own, and it had 111 items on it. One of them was have sex in space, which I'm still working on, and uh, and it had and it had
That's
like
awesome.
lots of places to visit, right? Lots of destinations, lots of travel
Travel.
places,
Yeah.
lots of cars and houses and like weird things. Like I would say, looking at that list now, I was young. And when all of this was going on, when I was having my peanut butter sandwiches and feeling depressed and low and couldn't find cash and all of these things, I was reading Tim Ferriss's book, The 4 Hour Work Week. And
Mhm.
as we all know, or for those of you who don't know, he talks about this dream lifestyle of like living overseas and traveling and doing all of the things that you've always wanted to do and not having to wait to do them. Because in the book, he says, well, usually people are saving up for retirement, in air quotes, and then they can start doing the things that they've always been wanting to do because now they've got the
Right.
time and they've got the money. Or it's like we say, oh, when I'm happy, I will do X. And
Mm-hmm.
in the book, he completely dispels all of that. And he's like, well, why not do it now? And for whatever reason, I pulled out that list, that bucket list that I had written 3 years prior, and started going through it. And I was like, oh my, I'm 33 years old right now. When the fuck, apologies for the language, when am I going to do all of these
I
things?
never fucking say that word. I don't know why you would think that's okay on my show.
And so I was like, oh, when am I going to do all of this stuff? And so continued reading the book. He talks about Thailand, he talks about Asia. And I was like, well, let me give myself 100 days to figure it out. To
Okay.
to get out of the country, to to make a change. And I sat down with my ex-wife, and I was like, look, you've seen the list, because when I made the list, she was with me. We were
Right.
still married at the time, and she was like, this is crazy. Like, when are you going to do all of this? This was then. And I pulled out the list, and I was like, look at all these places that I want to go to. And she goes, yeah, you wrote those things down like ages ago. And I was like, yeah. And it's been 3.5 years now. And like, when am I going to do all of this stuff? And she could tell that there was something coming. And I said, well, let's buy a few plane tickets, one-way tickets, and let's go. Let's start doing this stuff. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, I want to go do all of these things. And if you'd like to do them with me, then let's figure this out. Like, I think it'll be good for our marriage. I think it'll be good for just living life and experience the world a little bit. Um, what do you think? And she goes, you can go. I'll be waiting when you get back. And I was like, well, if I go, I ain't coming back.
Yeah. That's a tough conversation to have with your spouse.
Yeah. So that was like that was the first time we spoke, and we went through a couple of options. And I was like, she obviously tried to convince me to go, but then to come back.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I guess one part of it was, I guess I didn't have the conviction that I was actually going to pull it off, or that I was actually going to go, because you know how it is. You say stuff and
Yeah.
nothing
Yeah.
ends up happening. And she brought that up, and I was like, no, this time for real. I've set myself a
Mm-hmm.
100-day goal to be on a plane, to leave. And she goes, oh, so this is pretty serious. I was like, yeah, it's quite serious. It's not that I want to get out of the marriage. This is not an escape. This is me starting to live and do the things that I want to do. Like, if I'm not going to do them now, I'm going to wake up in another 5 years or 3 years or 10 years, and then still be dreaming about it. And if I don't do it now, I feel like I'm at an age where I need to.
Yeah. If not now, when?
Right. And
Right.
yeah, so like I basically just put a date on my calendar, and I was like, okay, I'm leaving on such and such a date. And I started selling all my stuff. I started just figuring out plane tickets and how to actually, where to go, first of all.
Well,
Um,
how did you decide where to go?
well, like I said, like Tim Ferriss talks about Thailand a lot. I looked at Thailand. I came across a website called nomadlist.io, and
Okay.
they basically break down, or the community has given feedback on locations and prices, and how much the internet costs, and how much coffee costs, and all of these things.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Mm-hmm.
using that website and a couple of others, I was like, well, I just need to make maybe $1,200 to $1,300 a month, and I be able to live in a few exotic places in the world. And yeah, Bangkok, Thailand, Chiang Mai, couple of places in Asia were on that list, Bali included.
Oh, Bali's on my bucket list. But wait a minute. You started this whole conversation by telling us that you didn't have any money. You were eating peanut butter out of a jar. How does someone with no income
Right.
make that happen?
The plane ticket my ex-wife bought for me on her credit card. So
She was like, get the fuck out. Go ahead now.
Well, I asked nicely, but I did pay her back, right? I did pay her
I'm
back.
just kidding. It's fascinating to me. She really must have thought you were going to come back.
Yes, she did.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's a like really good question. At that time, so that was I read the book around December-ish, kind of mid-January. I picked up one or two clients on Upwork as a freelancer, and
Doing what kind of work as a freelancer? Doing what?
digital marketing, just
Okay.
general stuff on YouTube. I was working on a website on an hourly gig, like just a just a couple of things to start. Like that was the first; those were like the first jobs that I got as a freelancer, working online. And I was like, okay, if I can get maybe one or two more, clients, or if I can get them to give me more hours, then I should be
Hmm.
able to make $1,200 a month. And I managed to do that. So, you know,
It's amazing to me. It's amazing to me how when we decide, like, this, I desire this very specific thing in order to achieve this other specific thing that I desire. And all of a sudden, the ability to see a path to achieving is open.
right. Otherwise, it's just always confusion.
Yeah. There's really something about being very specific and intentional about exactly what it is that you desire.
Mm. I think through my life, and I'm 40 now, through my life, I've realized that when things are meant to be, it'll happen easy. Yes,
Oh, I don't know.
the
I
specific.
don't know about that. I've done a lot of things that I know are meant to be, but they were really fucking hard.
I guess in certain circumstances, yeah. For me, it's kind of like when things are easy, when things kind of fall into place, then it doesn't feel as hard. Maybe I don't feel like it's hard work, or maybe I don't.
Yeah.
It feels like fun, so it doesn't feel difficult. Sure, there's
Yeah,
a
it
lot of
could be
effort that
that.
goes
There's
into it.
so there's yeah, less uh it's less draining. Like you
Right,
maybe you're working as hard or harder, but it doesn't it's an additive, not a subtractive.
right. And don't
Yeah.
get me wrong, like those 100 days were not easy because we were having kind of almost daily conversations, my ex-wife and I,
Sure. Yeah.
as things were getting like closer. And I remember the day that I wanted to book the plane ticket because she had agreed to loan me, her card to pay for the thing. Um, we were at a coffee shop. She decided to go with a friend of hers for a bit of shopping. I was like, yeah, I'll come to the mall as well. Again, I didn't have any money, so I didn't want to buy anything walking into stores or whatever. She had a bit of cash because she had a job, and she also just, I guess, window shopping or whatever. So I was like, I'm going to grab a cup of coffee, and I think I managed to find a flight. So um, just catch me at the coffee shop when you guys are done. And when she got back, I opened up the email confirmation that showed that I had booked the ticket.
Wow. And what was the first destination?
Bali. I went to 6 weeks to Bali as a gift for myself for actually leaving.
Wow. Okay, so I'm going to play a little devil's advocate here.
Hmm.
I think it's beautiful and I think it's brave. But knowing that you have children at home,
Yes.
what about people who are listening and going, you gave yourself a reward for leaving your family?
Yeah. So the kids were from my first ex-wife. The second ex-wife is the one I was referring to about having the
Oh,
conversation about leaving. So
okay.
yeah, that it gets a little more complicated.
So you were already not actively with your children.
Correct. But I had access to them. I was seeing them almost like anytime I wanted to. Like I'm in their life. I'm still in their life.
Yeah.
And so that also was a difficult conversation. I went to visit them. I was like, I have this plan, I have this idea. And granted, my daughter was 7 and my son was 5. So still very young, not quite understanding what I was trying to do. But they did understand that I wasn't going to be around. And my ex wife also was like, hmm, okay, this seems kind of strange, but like, good luck. Okay, like, go figure yourself out, I guess.
Uh-huh.
So
Uh-huh.
yeah, I mean, it was challenging that decision, making the decision to leave, and then just based around the fact that I have these two beautiful kids. and also then having to go through a second divorce because of this thing that I wanted to do was, yeah, it was, those are probably the two hardest decisions I've made. Getting married, sorry, three. Getting married the first time, the second time, and then leaving.
Yeah, I can see that. And so you've not gone back to where at least I mean, we don't usually go back to our exes. So at least to where your children are. Where do they live?
They're in South Africa.
They're in South Africa. How have you maintained an active, healthy relationship with them?
WhatsApp, video calls. I tutor my daughter maths every twice a week. My son and I play games online through the PlayStation.
The
Um,
internet is cool like that, right? When I was
yeah,
little, you just didn't talk to your parent that wasn't present.
yeah. Well, like the first few years was challenging because my daughter didn't have a cell phone. My son didn't have a cell phone. She was only allowed a phone when she was 12. So for those couple of years between 7 and 12, just calling the mom, hey, can I speak to the kids? Like we,
Mhm.
the mom and I have a good relationship, and we had a good relationship at that point. So it wasn't like too much of a challenge, but I still have the calendar reminder on my on my Google Calendar that says call the kids every Sunday at 3 p.m. Like that was my, you know, in case I was too busy or drunk from partying on a Saturday night or whatever. Like that was the thing that I had to do every single Sunday. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's a tough decision. I mean, I'm a parent. I'm also the child of divorced parents whose father was not he, not as present as one would have wanted. So I feel like I can see both sides of that really clearly, but that's not a clear-cut decision. That's
yeah,
really hard.
yeah. Very, very
Yeah.
difficult. But one of the words I said was being grateful, right? Is
Yeah.
I'm just so lucky, I guess, or so happy that my kids are in touch with me. Yes, there's distance. We don't get to hug each other. We don't get to kiss each other, especially with COVID. Like we had plans for them to come to Thailand last year, but that didn't happen. I visited them 4 years ago. Yeah. So that was really cool. I spent a month with them when I was back in South Africa. But I would say that our relationship is great. So, my daughter talks to me about her relationships and stuff that's going on with her mom, or issues that she's got with school or her friends, or
That's great.
there's a lot of personal stuff that I get from them that I think a lot of parents don't generally get from their children, even living in their own
That's
home.
Yeah, that's fascinating. That's fascinating. Well, good for you and good for them. I'm glad to hear that.
Thank you.
All right, so you bought this plane ticket. You went to Bali for
Yeah.
6 weeks,
Yes.
uh, which is dreamy. And what shows up for you in those 6 weeks?
Good question. I think it was a case of, well, one, it was survival, right? Because I was living week to week, like getting money from my clients on Upwork, and then kind of paying the hotel bill or paying the apartment that I was living in Bali, and calculating and just trying to figure out how to navigate living in another country, and living in a country where the language is not primarily English, and also like wanting to explore and go scuba diving and do all of these
Mhm.
things that I didn't quite have money for. So here I was in this exotic location in one of the fanciest co-working spaces I've ever seen, and just barely affording to work there. But it was a 24-hour place, and so you'd see me sitting there alone, kind of midnight, while everybody else is out partying or going for these fancy yoga retreats or whatever, and I'm kind of just hustling to be able to survive out in the wilderness. And yeah, I think that was what showed up. It was just me showing myself that I could survive anywhere.
Yeah, that's cool. What's fascinating to me about that is it is what you just said, what we talked about a second ago, um, where you said if it's meant to be, it comes easy, but that's not easy, but it was worth it for you. Like, some people are going to hear this and go, why the fuck would you go all the way to Bali to work your ass off all the time and not do the fun things? But that was how you proved to yourself that that was what you wanted, because that hard work just felt like that's what I want to do.
Right. And, don't misunderstand. Like, there was plenty of fun to be had.
I'm sure there was.
you know, there was plenty of fun to be had. So,
Okay.
as you can tell, like, I have this, not necessarily a reward system, but I get to a point where it's like, okay, now I need to take a break and treat myself. Right. Like,
Yeah.
even just a little thing, like, let's go for a walk. Like, that's enough to
Yeah.
go and appreciate something that you've achieved. And so I used that, like, during the 6 weeks, made a bunch of friends, did a lot of stuff. I did end up going for like one day to scuba dive. Like, that was awesome. And yeah, it was, to date, the best decision I've made was leaving South Africa and traveling.
That is really, really cool. And so then eventually, fast forward, you landed where?
So in Bali, or before I went to Bali, when I was buying all the plane tickets and stuff, I had decided to come to Bangkok. So that was like pre-planned. But while I was in Bali, I met this. She's a yoga instructor, yoga teacher, but she apparently also has this sort of sixth sense to, like, give people, tarot readings and
Yeah, I'm
just
down. I
yeah,
love it.
give people some guidance. And I found her in Bali, and she was like, "So where are you going to next?" And I said, "I think I'm going to Thailand. I have a ticket to go to Thailand, but I'm not sure. I wasn't sure at the time whether that was the right decision or not. Again, still very uncertain of myself. I was surviving, but, it was still very sketchy at that point. And then now having to go from Bali, where I was kind of comfortable. Bali's an easy place to live.
Yeah, I can
Uh,
only imagine.
because there's lots of foreigners, lots of people traveling in and out, lots of people to help. Like, you have a question, it's so easy to figure stuff out over there, and it's also relatively cheap to live. So, mistakes don't cost you as much. But I was like, is Thailand like a good idea? And she looked at the cards and she did a reading, and she was like, it's going to be good for you. It's going to be really good for you.
Mm.
And I was like,
Are you
oh,
still in touch with her?
no. So she's offline, completely offline. She doesn't do anything online. Um, Very difficult to actually get hold of her. You have to be referred by a friend to go and meet her. So
Wow.
she's very, like, one of those secretive, like,
I
Gandalf
want to
kind of
go
people.
meet her. I want to go meet her. Okay, so you landed in Thailand and you've subsequently built a really successful marketing business for yourself.
Yeah, yeah. Again, with a bit of hard work, um, late nights. I'm talking to you right now. It's almost midnight. Um,
Yes, thank you for that. I'm sorry.
oh, don't apologize. Like, this is just part of my daily. It's no big deal. Um,
Well, we've talked about that before because the majority of your clients are Western or US based, right?
Correct.
And so you kind of have to keep US hours in order to service those clients.
Yeah, on selected days. So I try to have all my meetings or all my Zoom calls around like 1 or 2 days in the week, so that I can,
Mm,
stay up during those 2 nights, do the meetings. I have a cutoff at midnight or 1 in the morning latest.
okay.
And then I go play with my girlfriend and we go to bed. So, you know, I've set some boundaries up for myself before, like when I was in hustle mode, when I just got to Bangkok, it was kind of like, if I need to stay up all night and work, that's just what I got to do. So
Yeah.
yeah, I've changed that since I'm a little bit more flexible.
That's good. You got to set those boundaries. And I love that because we do, I am the creator of the Brave Method, which is what my book is about, which I know you have read. Thank you for that.
Sure.
But it is just that, like we do what we need to do when we need to do it, and we set boundaries. And maybe those boundaries are, I'll work all the damn time because I got to get this thing started. Versus when we reassess and we reframe, we could say, okay, I don't have to do that all the time now. I can I can put some different parameters around it. Tell us about your podcast.
So the Marketing Stack podcast it started as an experiment for myself because clients had been asking like how, I think I had a client at the time that was asking me like, how do I get a podcast going and all of this stuff. And I, figured out the tools and I did the research and I gave him the advice. And I was like, oh, this is like so easy to do. Let me do one myself. And so, yeah, I launched the Marketing Stack podcast. I think it's going for a year now, year and a half now. And yeah, it's actually for me the best or the easiest way to connect with people, especially on Twitter, because people love just
Yeah.
talking. So it's like it's sometimes finding clients. It's like, hey, can I get you on my podcast? And then you end up working with them later on. Um, but yeah, so the Marketing Side podcast, all about marketing, how to build your business, how to get marketing done, social advertising, all of those bits.
And I love, obviously I love podcasting. I have 2 podcasts and I love the community. What's been your favorite thing about being part of the podcasting community?
Hmm. Yeah, I think it is genuinely just being able to connect with people. And then during the interview, I like to ask really intriguing questions. I think I've stumbled on a little skill that I've maybe developed over the years or I've used all the time but just didn't know. It's this ability to be able to ask questions from multiple angles, not
Mm.
to call the person out on their BS, but to get them to think a little bit about what they're saying or to
Right.
analyze or look at something in a different way. I've been doing that with my clients all along, and that's why my clients are successful. But doing it on a podcast in front of an audience is also quite fun, and it challenges the person I'm speaking to.
Yeah. I think it's great. I mean, you have such a fun personality, even though we talked about your super sexy, mellow voice, but you are funny. You're a funny guy. Like you're super engaged. You're quick-witted. And so that makes, listening so much more fascinating, even if it takes your guests a little bit by storm. You told me right before we started recording that you have a new app coming out, and I desire having an app. I want to hear all about it.
Yeah, I call it an app, but it's actually more software based than mobile based. Um,
Okay.
so it's pretty much an all-in-one marketing tool. So think of ClickFunnels, Calendly, Pipedrive, and all the automations that you get from email marketing, all built into one tool. So yeah,
Good for you. Is it
it's
launched?
it is launched kind of on the hush hush for now. It's going through
Uh-oh.
beta with ironing out ironing out a few bugs and a few things. But yeah,
But
it
can we
is.
secretly tell everybody what it's called on the hush hush or no?
Yeah, yeah, it's called. I mean the name. Oh my goodness, naming things is such a challenge. I will tell
Yes, it
you.
is.
I
Yes,
went
it is.
I went through so many iterations, and I ended up just calling it Bridge 8 Pro. Bridge 8 is the name of my company, and I just latched on the word pro at the end because it just kind of I I had sold it to 2 or 3 people already, and they were like, "What's it called?" And I was like, I don't know yet." And they were like, "Oh, you need a name." So I just yeah, it's called Bridge 8 Pro. It is
Bridge 8
available
Pro.
if you want to look at features and things. bridge8.com/pro.
And
So
who's
that
it
is
for, really? Who's it built for?
it's built for anybody who wants to build a business online, but mostly I'm targeting people who want to build a course. So course creators, content creators. Yeah.
Okay. That's good. That's a hot commodity. There are a few other companies out there doing that, but I don't know anybody who loves the options. So,
Mm,
there you go,
interesting.
folks. Have to check that out.
Thank you.
I am excited to hear more about that. All right, you said something that I had a really hard time not just like going down that path with you because I knew this question was coming, and so do all my listeners. Uh, you said that you're all about the reward system,
Hmm.
and I am too. One of the questions that I ask every single week on this show is, how do you celebrate? And I ask that because I believe that celebration is a lost art, that celebration begets celebration. And I loved that you said, like, this is your jam. You're all about the reward system. You dropped a couple of ways that you reward yourself, which in my mind is a form of celebration. But how do you like to celebrate?
Recently, a lot of sex, to be honest.
Yeah, you kind of casual. You're like, I play with my girlfriend. I'm like, okay, oh, this is
Yeah, we
not an R-rated podcast.
we enjoy celebrating together, but then there's also a couple of, like going out for a dinner or having a drink before we go to bed, or um yeah, a glass of whiskey, like simple things. It comes down
Yeah,
to the simple things. And for me, like, even if I, if I make a sale, like a really big sale that, like, I'm super super happy, I'm okay with just having an ice cream. Like, I don't have to do
yeah.
anything lavish
Oh,
or
yeah.
anything amazingly wonderful. Like, oh, let's go to Maldives for a week. Nah, sure, I'd love to go to
I
Maldives.
mean,
It's on my
yeah.
list as well.
I mean,
But
sometime,
yeah,
yeah, but
but
right.
but you need the daily things. You need the little rewards that are going to get you through the next few days or the next week or whatever. You
Or
know,
even the next hour
correct.
sometimes,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, the ice cream, the bite of chocolate, the walk, or deep breathing. I do some EFT tapping. Sometimes I do it because I'm stressed, and sometimes I do it as a reward, you
Hmm,
know? So
interesting.
I love that.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, I find that caring for myself physically is a really lovely way to celebrate.
Mm.
All right. Well, I think this is so fascinating. If you had to give one piece of advice to somebody who's hearing this and they say, I want to give myself that 100-day challenge and try something crazy and wacky and different and just go. What's your first bit of advice for them?
I would say do it, but with a caveat. It's kind of, you've got to plan it out. Like, big decisions like that need some preparation. And so 100 days is a good timeline, or a good amount of time to be able to figure things out. And if you don't hit the 100 days, maybe you hit 120 days, you've still done the thing. But the 100
Mm,
days is a really good, easy way to just check off the little boxes on the calendar, day by day, and track your progress. It's like, oh, okay, 50 days to go. Like, okay, where am I? and
yeah.
and yeah, the
So make a
deadline, it's the
plan,
deadline
make a
that,
list.
yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's interesting that you said that. I know that you also, in general, like to be you're a reader and a learner. I loved Will Smith's memoir. I listened to it right at the end of the year, and I mean, I loved it. And one of the things that had sort of been his life force that his father taught him forever was he would say, uh, 99% might as well be zero. And it wasn't until he was in his 50s that a healer said to him, "But is that actually true? Is 99% the same as 0?" And he's like, "Wait, I no, I guess it's not," right? Like,
Hmm.
holy shit, all this time. So when you said, maybe you don't make 100 days, maybe it's 120 days, but you've still done the thing. To me, it
Hmm.
feels like that. Like, you've still done the thing. I wrote this book. I worked my ass off on it. I wrote it. I edited it. I rewrote it. I published it. I promoted the hell out of it. No matter what happens from here on out, I've done the thing.
Yes.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love that. What a gift. Thank you for that. Burhan, what is your favorite charitable organization to support?
I came across Charity Water many years ago, and one of the things, growing up in South Africa, water in a lot of parts of the country is not available. It's just like people are
Yes.
still
Yeah.
walking to the rivers, to the dams, to pick up, dirty water that's coming down from sewage, from upstream or whatever. And so I'm big on water. So yeah, Charity Water is
Okay.
is my charity of
I
choice.
mean, we got to be big on water. I think about that here, how privileged we are to have easy access to water. And honestly, even in the US, not everyone does. So
Hmm.
It's a really incredible organization. They'll be our charity of the week. Thank you. So we hope
Welcome.
you'll share and tag them, and we'll do the same thing there. Can you tell folks how to contact you or reach out if they're curious, they want to get to know more about you, they want to listen to the show, they want to chat with you on Twitter like I do? How can folks find you?
I think the easiest place is my website, my personal website, burhaanpatel.com. You'll find my podcast over there. If you want to check out my Instagram, I'm doing reels at the moment, which are very fun and very interesting. So, yeah, between my website and
Reels are
and
challenging. Reels are harder than TikTok, I think.
I don't know. I'm just repurposing all of them into YouTube Shorts and Reels and TikTok. So at the moment, I'm just like, okay, whatever lands, lands. Um, but yeah,
All right. I love it. Excellent. And can you share your 3 words with us one last time?
grateful, love, and courage.
Yeah. I see that. I hear all of those words in the story that you've shared with us. And I'm so grateful and appreciative that you chose to come on and talk about this uh, life altering experience and some things that maybe were more challenging leading up to it. And it's really fun to be able to have you on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Heather, and thanks for all the compliments. And yeah, it's always great chatting to you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Folks, I want to know, if you had 100 days and you had to make some major change or uproot yourself, what would you pick? I want to know. Will you come and join me on Instagram, the Brave Files podcast on Instagram, and let me know? Send me a DM and tell me what you would choose. If you had 100 days to completely change your life, what would it look like? And while you're doing that, maybe you can consider grabbing the Create Brave card deck, which is the deck of cards that my colleague Rachel Swanson and I created to help folks guide, source, and manifest your next steps in whatever you want in life. You can grab the Create Brave cards by visiting vickeryandco.com/store. I am so excited to have you here as a listener. Make sure that you follow the show, share it with your friends, and do me a favor, rate and review it, mostly because it just makes me feel so great to see your rates and your reviews. This is Heather Vickery reminding you today and every day to go out and choose bravely. See you next week.
Hey, friends, I want to share something really exciting with you. We already know you enjoy listening to podcasts because you're listening to this one, but I'm also betting you enjoy audiobooks. And hey, listen, if you don't already enjoy audiobooks, then it's time to check them out. That's why I'm really excited to share Libro.fm with you. They are an incredible new platform for listening to audiobooks. And by choosing Libro.fm over other audiobook services, you are supporting a local bookstore of your choice and investing in your local community. Libro.fm offers over 150,000 audiobooks via their primary platform, which, by the way, they built with love and from scratch because they're a small business also. They even offer bookseller recommendations for great audiobook options. You can sign up right now via www.vickeryandco.com/LibroFM. That's vickeryandco.com/LIBROFM. And when you do, you'll get one free audiobook of your choice, and the proceeds will go to your favorite local bookstore. Now, check what I just said there. You're going to get a free book, and the proceeds are still going to go to your local bookstore because Libro.fm makes sure that their booksellers get paid even when they give a promo to customers. I've listened to over 20 audiobooks this year alone. I especially love listening to memoirs read by the author, and it feels great knowing that all of my purchases support my local bookstore, The Book Table, in Oak Park, Illinois. Libro.fm. The same audiobooks, the same price, but a completely different story. Check them out right now at vickeryandco.com/LibroFM. Have you ever thought about starting a podcast? Maybe you've had this thought and then quickly shut it down because who has the time? or you don't know how, or gosh, it just all seems too hard. If you have something to share with the world, we want to encourage you to get your message out. The world needs to hear it. Did you know that 50% of all homes are podcast fans? If you've ever wondered about having your own podcast or how it can increase your business or get your message across, then please join me and the other experts from the Podcast Power Academy for our monthly free Q&A session. It's called So You Want to Start a Podcast? This casual live conversation will help you understand how podcasting can be a great decision, why now is the best time to get started, and how to get into action with it. Visit podcastpoweracademy.com to learn more. You've been listening to The Brave Files, stories of people living courageously. To learn more about the show, find our show notes and full episode transcripts, or to get some great bonus content, visit thebravefilespodcast.com. And we would love to know what you think of the show. You can give us a call at 312-646-0205. Let us know your thoughts on the episode, the show in general, or maybe share with us how you're out choosing bravely. This episode is brought to you by Vickery & Co. Success Coaching. Coaching that helps you maintain a life well lived and a business well run. Learn more at vickeryandco.com. Our music was created and produced in a custom collaboration with Matt Lewis from ML Creative Consulting, a boutique firm dedicated to helping clients identify their unique sound and amplify their brand with custom delivered soundtracks. We couldn't do any of this without our extraordinary audio engineer, Andrew Olson. Learn more about him and check out his work at findandrewolson.com. And special thanks to everyone on Team Brave, from our producers, associate producers, copy editors, writers, and support team. Special thanks to Molly, Mary, Kim, Sabra, and Sabrina. I'm your host and executive producer, Heather Vickery. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next week.